It took a couple of months for me to write my story. My first draft was completed kind of early December time, and that was a completely different script to the one that you've just watched and hopefully enjoyed, because that was called Host, and that was had a whole kind of subplot about this sword in it, and these people were kind of the characters were fighting over this sword and trying to get it, and one of the characters felt that it had saved his life, and the doctor was like, no, it didn't save your life, you can't use this. And there was a character called Titus in there, General Titus, I think. So I used that to put in loads of Shakespeare lines, or there's a couple of scenes in my original draft that ended in kind of quotes from Titus Andronicus, and stuff that I kind of changed slightly a couple of words to fit the plot. And then I sent that off to Justin and to Brendan, and I was told that Brendan would pick one of three options. Either kind of, it's absolutely fine, it needs a few tweaks, or it needs a complete rewrite. And I got the third one. So I then had to do a complete rewrite in a relatively short amount of time, I think, because I didn't hear back for probably just over a month after I submitted my script. So then I had a couple of weeks to write the second draft, which became Betrayal. And kind of, I like it. It's not my title, the titles were given to me. But I like the little reference to the Harold Pinter play there. That's the English literature geek within me. But Betrayal was the one you've just seen without Titus. It had Vela instead. Vela, I feel, is a much more grounded character. There was a whole kind of power struggle between Titus and Nylan in my very, very first draft of Host, but Vela, I think, is a much more balanced character. It's interesting to be able to split the characters up, and I love the kind of the battle between Perdita and the Doctor, because the Seventh Doctor is my favourite Doctor. So there's such a kind of, you can do so many interesting things with him, and you can make him kind of darker and aggressive. So I took the advantage of that in my script, and hopefully that's what you've seen. My writing process is, in this case I started with the story, the scene breakdown, from Justin, who had worked on the plot given to him from Brendan. And I don't do, for my own scripts, I don't do scene breakdowns and stuff when I'm writing them for myself. So it was a fascinating experience on my version of the script when it was Host, to kind of take the script, take the scene breakdown, write the script from it, because the plot, the beginnings and the ends and the middles of the scenes are very much set out in the breakdown. So it was fascinating for me to be able to use that and keep to such a strict kind of format while putting in my own lines and my own Shakespeare quotes. And it was good kind of just to be able to work to something that was a bit more almost formal than the normal kind of scripts, which you just sit down and write. But with Betrayal, I was kind of, at the time I was writing Betrayal, I was getting various bits of coursework back. So the joys of writing when you're my age. So I'm kind of there with coursework and Betrayal. So Betrayal went in a couple of days late, and that was written in the same way, scene breakdown, just literally scene by scene, go through it, write the dialogue. But reading through the script I was actually quite impressed by how much I'd written in quite a short space of time. I think for Betrayal I probably rattled out a part a night over various nights, just to get it all done. So that meant, kind of because of the speed that I wrote Betrayal with, meant all Shakespeare and clever references went out the window. And Brendan wanted a much more action-packed story, which is the reason for the rewrite in the first place. So I wrote lots of CGI scenes, which I'm not used to at all. So writing the spaceship flies through a myriad of coloured lights, I think, is one of the stage directions in the first scene. So writing stuff like that and things about the laser cannon I'm just not used to at all. My favourite character in the story, reading back through it, I would probably have to say Vayla, because I think Vayla is a really good character. But I mean, I've sent many an excited email and Facebook message to Justin on the casting of Sakuntala Ramilly and Simon Fisher-Becker, who, to have Simon Fisher-Becker and Sakuntala Ramilly reading my lines is amazing. So I think purely for that, I have to say that Perdita and Nylan are my favourite characters, because it's just, to have them reading words I've written is the strangest thing. And Survival and the Seventh Doctor, I love. Survival is kind of one of my favourite stories. So to have Sakuntala Ramilly from Survival reading my words, I just think that will bring Perdita to a whole new level. I think when I was writing her, she was quite Maria-ish from the previous Doctor Who Online Adventure series in my head. And Maria isn't my favourite companion of all time, I will admit. So it's good that Perdita's going to be so different, and it was good trying to break through the Maria in my head and write a character who was hopefully punchy and quite different for the series. I first found out about Doctor Who Online Adventures when it was Doctor Who Dapol, or Dapol, however you say it. And I love that, because I don't have any of the figures, the Dapol figures. I don't have any of them. So to see a figure series that was using these figures, I thought was fascinating as well. And the other thing I thought was interesting was that when YouTube had decent looking channels back in the day, and like everyone used to fuss over getting the banner at the top of your channel, kind of in that era, there was a description of Doctor Who Dapol saying Doctor Who Adventures for Children, and I was like, well, that means it's being made by adults, which I thought quite interesting, because a lot of the figure adventures you have out there are, you know, kind of people's living rooms. I've done that. Half of my figure adventures have a living room / staircase set, and I haven't made any for a long time. But I think Doctor Who Dapol had such an inventive way of using sets, which has only got better recently. Tons of CGI, which other figure series can't really touch. And such an audience now as well to watch them. So to submit, because I submitted stories for Doctor Who Online Adventures and none of them were picked, but Brendan said, I really like your ideas, we just can't use them. Would you like to write a story that I've already planned? To which I said yes, very excitedly. So, but to write for an audience like that, to write for a series that I followed from about series 2 or 3, whichever series had the Luke Skywalker figure in, and the Silurians. I remember the Silurians are the one with the Tetraps as well. So those episodes and the inventive use of sets really drew me into the series, and I've kind of been following it since then. And then the opportunity for new writers to get involved, and for Brendan to take a chance in picking me as well, based on a couple of paragraphs of ideas I'd written, was awesome. So I'm very grateful for that, and you know, I know that the series is going to go on to better things, bigger and better things. And I'd like to thank, most importantly, Brendan and Justin and everyone on the team, and Chris, who does the CGI, and Rex, who's organised all the actors and the voices, to just doing what I'm sure has been an amazing job, for giving me a chance to write for the series. And it's just been great, and I hope that my action-packed episode has been action-packed enough. I hope that there's gossip between Daleks, and I just hope that you've really enjoyed it, and maybe in the future you'll be watching another one of my stories. Fingers crossed.